Well, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton. I want to thank you all for making a little time out of your Monday mornings to join us here on Lions Talk Live. If you're new to the channel, you haven't yet subscribed, please consider doing so. Trying to make our push by, let's say Thanksgiving Day to try to get the channel up to 4,600. And then we'll go from there, try to make our drive for 5,000 and 10,000. Also, while you're watching the video, if you would be ever so kind, go ahead and hit that like button. Try to help push the content out a little bit more and help more and more people try to discover Lions Talk Live. Also, we're going to dive into a few things today. I did watch a little video all night long. And yeah, I broke down quite a bit. So we're going to dive into some of the truths and realities I think that we're starting to see emerge, especially after you're talking this late in the season, what we can say the Lions are good at, what they're struggling with, and what they're going to need to firm up, especially as we make a push into the postseason. All right, before we get into everything, though, if you're new to the channel, you weren't aware, outside of being a YouTuber and a coach and a scout, I am also a realtor and have been for over 30 years. I've been one of Michigan's, I'd say, top 5 to 8% realtors for the majority of the last 20 years or so. So if you're looking to buy or sell property in the state of Michigan, give me a call, shoot me a text, whatever you need to do. Leave me a message on YouTube. Give me a call, shoot me a text at 269-998-2384. If you're outside of the state of Michigan and you want some, helpful thoughts, words of wisdom, things like that, you can also reach out to me as well. I know many of you have. Let me work on your behalf, see if I can help you save some money, either on purchasing or selling a property. All right, so before I get into the chat stuff today, I did want to talk about a few things, and we'll dive into other factors as we go, but I want to make sure I want to focus on this. So what can we say that the Bears did yesterday that caused the offense a lot of issues until really, I guess we could say late in the game when the Lions just said, the heck with it, we gotta go for it. We can't play conservative anymore. And I want you to focus on that word conservative. Ben Johnson has a ton of upside as a offensive coordinator. He is going to be more than likely one of the most sought after candidates to be interviewed and to be potentially hired from this offseason. When you're successful, when your team scores a bunch of points, all those factors come into play. People are going to come hunting for your personnel. But yesterday, what the Bears did is we expected some zone coverage out of them. What I didn't expect so much is basically they're going to have one quarterback almost in a spy technique across the center field, just reading Goff for the in between basically the tackles. That individual was responsible for basically a 5 to 8 yard area, just dancing around, trying to go after anything. Now pay attention to the defensive line of Chicago. While they're rushing, they're, for the most part, all keeping their hands in a brace formation. So what that means is as they're going through, they're keeping their hands and elbows up here. So anytime Goff goes to throw the ball, they are trying to deflect or negate passing angles. And as the Lions did from time to time move down the field, you also saw a ton of Bears defenders playing the flats. So they were grossly aware Goff, the offense, have tendencies to look for shorter intermediate routes. What changed later in the game is you could see the play calls shifted to more allowing for a few people to go beyond 10, 15, 20 yards. Obviously, we all saw the Jameson Williams touchdown. But one of the things I think Ben Johnson and this staff are going to have to address is it's a copycat league. You guys have heard me talk about it before. We talked about what teams were going to probably take from the Chargers game plan and implement into their game plan. Chicago didn't do that for the most part. And I think a lot of that's just because their personnel with Justin Fields. He has a very unique ability among NFL quarterbacks, the fact that he may be the fastest dude on the field and he causes problems. So anyway, sticking to the offense before I get off track, I'm going to say this. The Lions this week, and I get they're going to have very limited practices. They're going to come in today. They're going to do film studies. Most of the guys are going to be focused on treatment to help recuperate their body for Thursday. They'll do dress rehearsals or walkthroughs both Tuesday and Wednesday. They're not going to put any pads on before Thursday's actual game. So I'm going to say this here. Goff and the offense are going to have to force some coverage changes out of teams. I'm expecting the Packers, and if not the Packers, then definitely coming back after the Thanksgiving short break. You're going to see other teams try to play overly aggressively in the flats and the center of the field with zone coverage. Goff and Ben Johnson are going to have to augment some of the routes to try to offset that and make them pay, which they did later in the game. But basically, you waited to the last minute to make those adjustments. So, all right, now let's get into the comment section. All right, here we go. All right, sorry about that, guys. I got to clear my throat. All right, Darren, what do you got? Yes. Yeah, I got to imagine, yeah, you're speaking for everybody right now, man. Just a great day to be a Lions fan. I mean, let's be real. Nobody saw that coming yesterday, not with like 3 minutes to go, but man, what a comeback. They're going to be talking about that all over different networks and, YouTube channels, whatever, today, tomorrow. Yeah, just a heck of a comeback win, man. Gary, good morning. My happy Monday, Lions faithful. Yeah, I got to imagine, Gary, you're 1,000% right. Everybody's, still brimming with energy from what happened yesterday. Boy, don't hate me if I get this wrong. Thaddeus, greetings and salutations all. Victory Monday. Yes, it is. Yeah, it is. And we've had a lot of them this year. Let's hope we have a whole lot more. Burrs, good morning, Lions faithful. Good morning, Mr. Do himself, Dan the man. What a game. Wasn't pretty, but good teams find a way. Keep it going, boys. 8-2, baby. Yeah, 100% right. And, I get the Packers won yesterday. They are figuring some things out. They are improving, and I didn't watch a ton of their game. I was more focused on breaking down our game to figure out a few things. But yeah, the Packers are going to come in here looking to win. I get that. Every team does. It is the NFL. We talked about in the post-game show yesterday. You really can't overlook anybody. And I know there was somebody in the chat after the game yesterday saying, hey, Lions aren't a playoff game. They barely beat the Bears. Look around the league. There really aren't a ton of teams that just get slaughtered, and I don't care who you are. I get using Miami as an example. They put up 70 points on Denver once upon a time. I don't think that's going to happen, if they were to play today or whatever. It's just this league is so close. And as far as talent level throughout most teams, it comes down to a few plays here and there. Yesterday. And I think the Lions probably would have won a little bit more comfortably. But you know what? Those plays came down to Laporta on Goff's first pick. He got slammed into it. I'm surprised they didn't call interference on it, but they probably missed it. Otherwise, the timing would have been on and Laporta would have had that catch. The one Bears defensive lineman tips or negates that pass. And I did look it on replay from the coach's camp. And you know what? It does probably shift that pass, I'd say 3 or 4 feet. So again, you go from having a completion to an interception. So it is a game of inches. You've all heard the cliche. And man, oh man, the Lions, though, they got those inches when it mattered the most in the last 3 minutes. All right, Gary, any injuries that are known of coming out of the game? Nothing severe I saw in the post-game media report. So there's nothing they put out there. I mean, there's going to be banged up bodies for sure today. I think we all get it after every game. Everybody you can feel it in your body, especially offensive and defensive linemen. And to me, if there's one thing I don't like about the short week, and, I guess you have no advantage over the other team because they're going through the same thing. But man, those offensive and defensive linemen, the running backs, I mean, the real physical positions, those guys, oof, I feel for them. But I'll check into that, Gary, later today and see if there are anything or any updates, and I'll try to get that out to you guys. All right, Anthony, what do you got? Morning all. What a nail biter. Yeah, it was, man. I mean, everybody had to be on the edge of the seats, right? I mean, come on, let's face it. That game, man, nobody could have guessed that thing. Gary, thank you so much. Denver Broncos, 100%. Yeah, the Broncos, and I get a month ago, we were all looking at when we played them and said, man, that's going to be a gimme. That's going to be an easy one. But again, repeating what we were just talking about, there's no such thing as a gimme game in the NFL. Teams make adjustments. Coaches make adjustments. I mean, you guys heard me say it before. I talked with a lot of other people, YouTubers and stuff, and people in the media after the first game going, Bears are trash. Vikings are horrible. Burn down everybody in Green Bay. They're trash. It's just rarely the case. Teams change so much over the course of the season. Players evolve, players regress, coaches get better, schemes get revealed. So I'm saying this, man. I don't know what our final record is going to be, but every win we get puts us a little bit closer to our goal. So getting that divisional win yesterday especially helps a ton. All right, Anthony. Yes, believe we are 2 games in front of our division. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, because you guys probably can look at the screens and everything. I want to say because Minnesota hasn't had their bye yet. We're 2.5 games ahead, but they're 3 behind us in the loss column. So I'm just going to say this: once they go on their bye, unless we drop something before then, we've got basically a 3-game lead over the Vikings. So if that holds true to when we play them the first time, as long as we win that first game of the year against the Vikings, then the last 2 games of our regular season really won't mean much unless it's for playoff seeding. We will wrapped up the NFC North at that point. Gary, yes, 2.5 game lead in the division with 7 to go. I like our chances, but if the Vikings could go ahead and drop 1 or 2 more, I'd like our chances a whole lot more. All right, Donnie Burr, what do you got? Greetings and salutations. Hey, Aaron Glenn, brother, your defensive scheme is head scratching. It is, but I knew this was going to be a topic today, so I did some deep diving into our defensive schemes. And yes, the Lions did make some adjustments after, I'd really say, the second Bears drive. They moved the ends a little further out wide. They had the backers or second layer of the defense spread out into the gaps a little bit more. They were going to force the Bears to have to run it with the running backs versus allowing Justin Fields, unless he wanted to get punished, to get out and get hit a lot. So you did see over the course of the game, he still got free for some runs, but most of it was no longer by design. Aaron Glenn did, take the ball out of his hands a little bit. The problem with that, though, is there's the big thing. I think I went back and watched a couple games in a row because, again, I want to look for repeatable results. Is this something that just happened one game, what I'm about to mention, or has it been happening for a while and maybe I just didn't pick up on it before? I watched the game yesterday, and I'm going to say this. Part of the Lions' pass rush problems are the fact you have multiple people going into the same gaps at the same time. So I'm just going to use Aleem McNeil and Hutch for example. You're going to see a lot of times where they both start out one way and then come in and hit each other. If you guys go back and watch the highlights, I'm going to guess it's on there as well. And I'm sure it's true on the other side. I'm just using Aleem and Hutch as an example. The problem with that is you're basically blocking your own teammate. You're stopping their progression just like you're stopping your own progression. So you're almost, in a sense, giving the offensive line for the Bears a 6th and 7th blocker on almost every passing down. The one that Hutchinson got to seal the game at the end, he just went out wide, and be fair, Justin Fields, he just dropped back and almost rotated over to Hutchinson. So there wasn't any opportunity for Hutch or McNeil or anybody else to bump into each other. This is something, if I'm the coach, which I'm not, of the Lions, especially the defensive line coach, you guys have got to have some sort of line of communication before every snap. Where are you going? What's your rush lane? What do because you can't keep having guys take each other out. It's hard enough to get to the quarterback as it is. But going back and watching some other game tape, you do see consistencies with that. It was just more egregious yesterday, in my opinion. The Lions shot themselves in the foot a lot of time on passing downs or pass rush opportunities by getting in their own ways. This is something that's got to be cleaned up. And if it does, then potentially, you can start getting more pressure from the Lions front. It did happen in other games. It was just terrible yesterday. And that's something that, to me, that's on coaching, because that should have been addressed throughout the game, cleaning that up. You guys have got to get on the same page, talk when you're out there pre-snap and whatever. All right, going on too much about that, but you guys get the point. One other thing I would point out is that Aiden Hutchinson, even though I thought he did not have a great game, he did get double teamed. I think I counted 15, 17 times, but the rest of the snaps, he was in single coverage, and he did not get wins until the last snap of the game. So that's something they're going to have to clean up as well. With all that being said, he did become the first defensive end in NFL history in 2 seasons to have, whatever it is, 4 picks and whatever it was, I think 15 sacks in his career through 2 seasons. So I'm sitting here and saying, hey, this guy's got room for growth, but yet he does something like that where he sets an NFL record. So anywho, all right, Anthony, left at half to Hunt. Looked like it was 26-14. Said to myself, it's over. To have my wife text if yes, 31-26, was excited, about to launch out of my stand. The deer population heard me in Saginaw. Great win. Yeah, man, I got to imagine you were not by far the only person who kind of wrote the game off and said, hey, I'm out of here. I'm not going to watch the rest of it. But man, It's the most Lions thing to do, right? You leave thinking it's over, and then you're halfway gone doing something else, and that's when the turnaround happens, man. Anthony agreed, Don. What we got to do? Shake my head. Yeah, I hear you, man. Gary, I'm pretty sure if in the off season, Brand Holmes will be addressing our pass rush. It needs help. If you give a quarterback all day to throw, it's going to be a long day. And yeah, I'm with you on that. Like I said, there's some things that I'm seeing schematically that could be cleaned up. It's just they're going to have to go ahead and do it. It's going to be tough for them to probably make a lot of changes this week just because you really are on very limited time. But after that, you do have basically a pseudo bye week. If they're not taking advantage of that now and really focusing on cleaning that up, then you're going to have more games like yesterday. And to me, that would be a problem as a coach because this is an addressable thing. This is something that can be augmented. If they don't do it, then they're either blind to it or they've got something better going on than the noggin than what I can figure out. Hey, I got no problem saying I'm not the smartest dude in the room. They may be smart enough to know, hey, there's a reason we're doing this, and I'm oblivious to it. So we'll see what shakes out. All right, Gary. I was so mad at one point, I almost turned off the TV. Glad I didn't. Yeah, you're not alone, man. I know there were a couple people messaging me yesterday, in the post-game video saying, hey, I was already on the parking lot getting in my car when all of a sudden people started yelling and screaming, man, we're back in it. We're about to win it. And, there were probably a lot of people like that. Let's be fair. Lions fan, greetings and salutations. I bet Coach stayed up all night watching film. I did to about, midnight or so. And then I got up about 4:30 today and watched a little bit more before I got on the air with you guys. All right. Lions, Drake. Lions fan number one, that what coaches do. Correct. Yes, that is what coaches do. If you're a coach and you've been one for a while, yeah, watching film is just part of the job, man. You almost get obsessive with it at times. All right, Dave, what do you got? Good morning, all. Man, I'm still buzzing from last night's game. Yeah, I've got to imagine most people are, right? So it's a great day to be a Lions fan. Robert, Vikings lost last night. Made the day even sweeter. I 100% agree. The Vikings lost. The Seattle lost. If Philadelphia loses today, then, man, that's about as perfect a scenario for the Detroit Lions as anybody could have envisioned going into this week. All right, Big Eddie, what do you got? Greetings and salutations all. Coach Dan, we won, but, man, we didn't look good. Thoughts on yesterday? All right, let's just start with the turnovers. Start with the kickoff one because, I've already kind of talked about the golf one. The kickoff one, the ball's exposed. He did have a hole. He was charging hard through it, and, just a great hit by the defender. Put his helmet right on the elbow, and, man, that ball popped loose. Is that going to happen a lot? Hopefully not, but you do have to, and today they've got to be talking about ball security because the biggest difference from last year's team to this year's team is last year's team did not turn the ball over. This year's team is turning the ball over, and that's got to stop. Now, talking about the 3 golf picks, all right, I kind of already mentioned Sam Laporta, the first pick. He's running a cross route, and the Bears linebacker, going to cover somebody else, hits Laporta, displaces him. To me, that's interference. It should have been called. It wasn't. It's a pick. The second one, that's just a bad read. I mean, it's just an egregiously bad read by Goff. But again, look at the similarities between all 3 picks. Zone coverage, linebackers breaking in routes. The Bears knew where to hit us. They knew what Goff likes to do. We can blame Goff. I could also say this. He can't be the village idiot and sometimes be stubborn, which I've accused this coaching staff of being sometimes. Overly stubborn. Aaron Glenn doesn't always like to make adjustments. He's like, no, we just got to play better technique. I'm going to say this about Ben Johnson. I'm the idiot watching this on TV saying they are jumping your routes. And, watching the tape confirms it. You need to do something to loosen up the Bears coverage, which they eventually did in the fourth quarter. You've got the weapons to hit teams deep, to extend zones, to make them, less impactful. But it didn't happen until later. I'm going to guess, if Green Bay has anything from this game, they're going to try to mimic it. How much he can do it in 2 practices, I don't know. I'll leave that to them. But I got to imagine other teams are going to do that until Goff and Ben Johnson prove if you're going to play so much underneath coverage, jumping in the flats, spying over the middle, playing smaller things, then that deeper intermediate routes are open as far as like the deep ins and deep outs, the post routes, the fly routes down the field. You just got to be willing to take it. I was happy to see Goff do it. You do have a budding superstar, I guess we could say, in Jameson Williams, who is grossly capable at doing this, along with some other people like Reynolds, Khalif Raymond, and stuff. So you're going to have to throw some teams out of these coverages if they're going to keep playing them. Now, the advantage is if you do throw them out, you're going to get some huge gains, maybe some more touchdowns, and that's going to force defense coordinators into adjustments. Football, to me, is one of the most ultimate chess games out there. You can take something away, but it's almost impossible to take this away without giving up something else. And I would say this to you, Eddie, both sides of the ball need to learn. And again, we've talked about younger, less experienced coaches, but part of their growth, I would say, both Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson is when teams hit you with something, you can't wait so long to adjust them out of it. So that, I guess that's my quick thoughts for you there. All right, Brittany, I don't care how we won. Yeah, me neither, man. Only that we did win. It's a great day to be a Lions fan. I agree with that 1,000%. Brent, good morning. Coach and Duke crew, ugly and nerve-wracking, but a win is a win, baby. Don B, does AG have a scheme? Oh, boy. That could be another deep dive. So I did talk a little bit about what he did to take the ball out of Justin Fields' ability to run after the first couple of drives, at least on design runs. The problem still becomes is there are some points in yesterday's game, if you watch the film, you got to break down the communication between the linebackers and the corners. Kirby Joseph, I also say this, he's caught a lot by deeper out routes where he's just a little bit off yesterday, and then against the Chargers as well, where he's playing so much single high safety. He's trying to cover so much ground. I don't really want to come down on the dude because he's a little bit late getting over to certain people as far as like Cam Sutton or Jerry Jacobs to help with deeper over the top throws. But again, you're having him play so much on an island in the center of the field. He's responsible for so much area. It's hard to critique somebody like that because he's almost in a spot where he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. They clearly do not want Tracy Walker out there in coverage on deeper routes. You watch all yesterday's schemes, and even the few times they went too high safety, when that ball snapped, he's coming down into the intermediate routes. So, I guess here's what I'd say. Aaron Glenn is doing some things that I would say most of us, if we calmly looked at it in a film breakdown, say, yeah, that makes sense. I would also say there's probably more he needs to learn to do. And again, talking about lesser experienced coaches, it takes time. All right, Sosimo, the truth is yesterday we went about perfect for us. The truth is yesterday went about perfect for us. Seattle and Vikings lost. This is true, and we won. So great point there. Gary, if the Eagles lose tonight, who technically has the number one seed? I think they still do because they don't have any conference losses where we do have the one to Seattle. Don't quote me on that. I'm not that versed on all the tiebreakers, but that sounds right to me that the number one thing would be head-to-head, which we haven't played them, and the number two would be conference record. So I'm pretty sure that's right. All right, Trey, what do you got? I work just outside of Chicago, and I already know people are going to be talking trash all day long about how the Bears were cheated. Hey, man, when you lose a game like that, yeah, you're going to be a lot of people are going to be pointing fingers at somebody other than themselves, the Bears. All right, Robert, good morning, everyone. I'm not sure how to feel. Strange game. Could not believe all of the interceptions, but realized we were fairly close with the score. Glad to win, but wonder about Dallas. It's just, here's what I'd say. The chance of us having 4 turnovers again, I would think is remote. I mean, who knows? Anything can happen, right? In the interceptions, a couple of them you could say, hey, there was the Bears made some plays there. But yeah, either way, the Lions are going to have to make some adjustments because, again, teams are going to try to mimic and copy what happened here. The other part is the pass rush. I will say this. The Bears pass rush got a lot more penetration than I would have anticipated going into the game. So give them some credit. They found some holes. They found some exploits, and they took advantage of it, and that caused some of the problems. All right, Ryan, let's go. Woo! I'm trying not to do it too loud because I know people are watching. I don't want to, blow out anybody's speakers or ears or anything. Don, what do you got? Gary, even if Eagles lose, They still hold the number 1 seed because they are 6-0 in the division. We are 5-1. Yeah, in the conference. Yeah, I hear there, brother Ken. We are built for this ship. Yes, we are built for this. I'll put that away. All right, Donkey Kong. There you go. Super Bowl or bust. Indeed, 1,000%. Garland. Yesterday was golfsome. Ooh, is he Ken enough though? That's what I would say. Somebody had a good meme on that. And I was gonna actually use it, but I was like, nah, I'm not gonna put it in the thumbnail. Doc Beck, what do you got? Same old Bears? Yes. Don Kong, Victory Monday. And man, we should all be thankful we can have a Victory Monday and potentially a Victory Friday in the same week. We've had a few of those this year. All right. According to reports, Lions did something that's never been done in the NFL. We won a game that we had 3+ turnovers, 4 actually, and time of possession was under 20 minutes. The others 48 times lost. Yeah. I was not aware of that, so that is impressive. But yeah, I mean, there were a couple things that historically had to come out of yesterday's game, and when you can set history and win, that's something special. And again, I know I brought it up. The Lions are now 4-0 on November 19th games against the Bears. All right, Randy. Good morning, Coach Dan. Incredible resilience by the Lions to get the win over the Bears, who dominated them in every category, but the last 3 minutes. Nice to see Seattle and Minnesota lost. Yeah, 100%. You're starting to see, I mean, the further you get in the season, you're going to see it regardless. You're starting to see the top teams separate from some of the other teams in the chase category. Lions now basically have a 3-game lead over Minnesota. In Minnesota, is it possible they could lose another game before they play us? Yes. The Cincinnati game without Joe Burrow, I'm going to guess they've got a much better opportunity to win that game, but you just never know. If they do lose one more and the Lions do not lose before the first game against the Vikings, then yeah, I'm going to guess the division is about wrapped up. Brother Ken, I'm triple happy. The Lions won, Broncos won, and the Vikings lost. Woo! Yeah, it was about a perfect day for the Detroit Lions. All right, Wonka Funky, good morning, all. Good morning to you. Willard, what do you got? The game reminds me of the game last year in Chicago. Check out the box score. The stats are scarily similar. I think this game was scripted. Hey, it could be, man, but I know that's been one of the things that have been talked about is, NFL or college football games or even NBA games are scripted or whatever. But to me, the fact that nobody's come out and said anything, I mean, that doesn't mean it couldn't happen. But usually, I'm going to say this, man, what life has told me or taught me, you can't keep that many people quiet. So you would have to have 1 or 2 people that could intentionally control the game without having it come out ever. Nobody on their deathbed has come out yet. Doesn't mean it won't happen, but it hasn't happened yet. All right, Don Burrow, the defense has to get better. Man, goddamn. AG is, I'd agree. I can only tell you there's things I do different, but if I went out there and did things different, I can imagine there'd be people yelling, screaming about me too. What I would say to you, Don, is I think most of us would agree the Lions need at least one more legitimate pass rusher. Jack Campbell, I think he's trending upwards, but yesterday was, I mean, he could not have had a worse day, I think, if he tried. Normally, this guy is lightning good at tackling, and man, I don't know if he got anybody down in one-on-one more responsibilities tackling. So there were a lot of things that didn't go our way yesterday. But yeah, the defense has to get better 100%. Now, with that being said, I'm also going to say this. If the defense didn't play the way they did yesterday, we would not have won that game. Limiting Chicago to so many field goals, you can blame the Bears all you want and saying they should have went for it. But on 4th down, the Bears felt comfortable enough, I guess you could say, not going for it, just taking that lead. And some of that's a credit to our defense. Our defense did just enough to allow us to stay close enough for the offense to eventually kick it in and get the win. So, but don't mistake that, Don. I'm with you. The defense has got to get some playmakers out there. All right, Brother Ken, break it down, dog. Break it down. I'm trying, man. I look forward to watching that game film and breaking things down. And again, I think most coaches do. Ryan, Denver Broncos, clap, 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 clap. All right, I'm down. Yeah, they did us a big favor yesterday, Ryan. JDC, a morning all from the swamps of the Yupi. So, what part of the Yup do you live in, man? Maybe you've said it before, and I apologize for if I forgot. Pierce, hey, haven't seen you in a minute. Good morning to you. Morning, Dan. Yesterday was ugly. We need Irvin on the active roster now. Yeah, and where's Broderick Martin? I was surprised by Broderick Martin. Now I know the guy that they signed, the 340-pound, 6'4" guy, used to play for Dallas. He did have an impact, and I'm sorry I can't remember his name offhand. I'm sure you guys will let me know what it is, but he did not play bad. I remember his name starts with a B. But anyways, Broderick Martin, I am surprised by. Irvin, I gotta imagine probably after the Thanksgiving break, he'll be out there. I mean, who knows? Maybe he plays Thanksgiving, but if he didn't play yesterday, I'm guessing he's probably not playing, 4 days later. Been wrong before, though. But, yeah, they've got to generate more pass rush on people without just relying on schematic things to get people open. All right, Thomas, what's your thoughts on people calling on Goff being investigated by point shaving? I mean, Goff did not have a good game yesterday, and you've already heard me talk about some of it was beyond his control. Some of it was definitely in his control. But also, I would say this: he played bad yesterday. And I choose, at least as a coach, to say, you know what? The Chicago Bears coaching staff came up with something that really caught him and Ben Johnson off guard. Say what you want, but the first pick, like I said, the Bears linebacker slams into Laporta, knocks off a timing route. That's not on Goff. He's throwing to where Laporta would have been if the Bears linebacker didn't hit him. The third pick, that pass gets deflected, and while it may not seem like it much on the broadcast vision or broadcast of the game, if you go back and watch the coaching cam, I think there's an argument to be made that tip does change the course of that pass 3 to 4 feet, which helps that linebacker who's trailing on it to pick it off. So outside of that, would I'd say there's a case for point shaving. So he made one egregiously bad throw. So the other ones, like I said, the defense made some plays. That's my opinion. And also, I'm giving credit to the Bears for coming up with something that we were ill prepared for. Max, defense issues, coach. No D-line, no second cornerback. We do have some defensive line, I guess I would say, concerns. Some of it when it comes to a pass rush stance, I already kind of talked about how you got too many guys and just running to the same spot. So they're basically blocking and tripping each other. And you can't have that. And not, okay, once in a while is it going to happen? Absolutely. But can you have it happen 70% of the time during a game? I mean, how that isn't addressed in game drives me nuts. Maybe I'm too much of a control freak as a coach, but okay, once or twice, I'm going to let that probably slide. Next time you guys come to this, off the field, I've got to have somebody talking to you guys about that. You guys have got to clean this up pre-snap when you're out there saying, all right, you guys are going where, what's the call? What's the defensive line shift? Where am I going? What's my responsibilities? That jazz, if that isn't beaten into them this week, that is on the coaching staff. That's on the defensive line coach. That's on AG. I would say this, that's not a player issue unless they're just not listening to them. Then it would be. But I'm going to say this, as a coach, I'd be I gotta watch what I say, but I'd be expressing myself fairly eloquently about that this week and during the game if it pops up again. As far as the cornerback part, Jerry Jacobs, he was never intended to be the number 2 corner. I think we all get that. Manuel Mosley, that was supposed to be his designation. But unfortunately, because of injuries, that's what's happened. Jerry Jacobs I think he's playing about as good as you could expect him to play. He would have been an ideal number 3 or 4 corner. I think he would have been pretty good at that. But you're having to do with what you got. He shouldn't be matched up there with most teams' number 1 or 2s. In his defense, I think he is playing fairly well, but I think he's also at about his cap. He's not going to get a significantly better, I don't think. I hope I'm wrong. Hope he keeps getting better. But for what you got, this is what you're dealing with. The coaching issues, yeah, that's where Max, I would, like I said earlier, I'd be expressing myself and getting that matter handled pretty quick. All right, Gun Guy, what do you got? Lesson number 1, Don't dance until you won. Yeah, that's true. Makes you laugh. Yeah, yeah. And I know Justin Fields at that point, he had to feel like that game was over. I get it, but now there's going to be 50 million memes out there of him doing that, and what are you going to do? Bergs, thank you, Broncos. Now have a 3+ in the loss column. Yeah, let's go. Yeah, and they drop one more, and if we don't drop to match them, yeah, they're basically out of it because again, time is not their friend. You're 3 back with 7 games to go and 2 games against Detroit. That's the only real saving grace for the Vikings at this point is you can, to a certain degree, control your own fate. All right, 9 drinks, victory money, 1,000%. I'm going to be having a little bit extra Mountain Dew today because of it. One funky, the Bears told linebackers not to move. That caused issues. Yeah. I mean, again, one funky, you heard me talk about it. You go back and watch that film. It's Zapruder style, man. I mean, what they asked their backers to do it, and they did a great job with stuff. They really try to focus on taking away the shorter intermediate routes. And you know what? It worked because either the play call or just Goff was only going to focus on that. He's got to get past that. Ben Johnson's got to aid him. That's part of your job as a coach. So if it happens again, then it starts being a trend. If it was just one time yesterday, then you know what? It's the asterisk. But they're going to have to learn from it. Robert, what do you got? Watched the game yesterday with my neighbor who's a Bears fan. Sweet ending. You know, sometimes when it's not a home game, there's a group of us neighbors that get together, and there's one dude who's a Bears fan. We did not hear from him yesterday. We'll put that way. Bergs, hell, 9 drinks. Yeah. It was a great game, and yeah, I gotta imagine everybody was all over celebrating yesterday. Any JJ Watt news? Nothing new than what I reported last week. And again, just to reiterate it, I'm not saying they are going to sign him. I'm saying they talked. I'm sure that the closer you get to the playoffs, if somebody like that wants to go in there and try to make a push, that's when it's going to happen. But I'm going to also say if he hasn't signed with 3 to 4 weeks left in the regular season, and not just with us, with anybody, then the dude ain't doing it because you need a week or two to get back into that football grind and shape. And then you're going to want to get them on the field for a game or two before the postseason, just so they can have an opportunity to get used to your systems and stuff. So the clock's ticking for sure. That sand's coming out of the hourglass. And every game that goes by, I'd say chances of him signing here or anywhere go down exponentially. Thomas, if the Lions play a clean game, this game isn't close. That's also true. If the turnovers don't happen, you probably do have a better outcome and less nail biting. But with all that being said, we got the win, and everybody got one heck of a close to that game. So I guess look at the positive sides, right? Max, can we pay a team to take Glenn? I'm going to leave that for Dan Campbell to address in the offseason. Let's all be fair. Nothing's happening this year. And I will also say, everybody looked better as a coach when you have better talent. This defense is not bad. I mean, one thing the Lions, Brian Holmes, everybody has done, there's very few holes on this team. The offense has some playmakers. I think we can all agree on that. The defense, who are your playmakers right now? Brian Branch, he continues to evolve, but he's still rookie, so he gets caught with a few things, but he also does some good things. Hutchinson, while he did get the big play yesterday, and that's going to make all the highlights, I was also disappointed in his overall performance. There were a lot of times he did get left in single block, which surprised me, especially watching the film and, a little bit on the game live, and he just didn't get a lot of wins. There's probably a multitude of reasons for that. And like I said, I did point out some of them where there too many guys are going into one spot on the Lions defensive line, so they're blocking each other out. But he's going to have to step up and be one of your consistent playmakers. Outside of those two, I think there's a lot of good players. There's just not any elite players. And the problem is the elite offensive players are beating up on the good defensive players of Detroit. So as they probably should. So I'm really thinking this offseason, whether it's in the draft, free agency, whatever it may be, the Lions are going to have to target adding some real power to that defense. Hopefully it does. Hopefully Jack Campbell keeps developing, or Broderick Martin, other people. But if they don't, you are going to have to go out there and say, hey, we've got to handle this ourselves. All right, Drum, what do you got? Good morning, Dan. I was at the game. A lot of people left early, pissed off. I stayed for the finish, and we got it done. Thanks, thanks, Goff. Yeah, and man, dude, I know we've talked about today. There's got to be a ton of people that were walking into Ford Field's parking lots or surrounding areas, parking structures or whatever, and just pissed, moaning, and everything. And then they find out what they're missing. Yeah, it's part of it, man. That's why you stay to the end, right? You paid for those tickets. You might as well. uh, Trump's, what do you got? INTs and fumbles don't help. No, they didn't. They didn't. Yeah, those turnovers gravely hurt us. Otherwise, it may not have been a close game. What do you got, Ryan? It seems that every player that fumbles gets injured. Craig Reynolds is like a soccer player flopping. But I will say this for you, Ryan. That shot with the helmet on his elbow, I'm sure that stung pretty good for a minute, but I do believe he returned. Let me know if you guys can. Let me know if I'm wrong on that, but I do believe he returned. But that one probably did hurt a little bit. But you are right. Every time someone on either team fumbled, yeah, they stayed down on the ground for a little bit, sort of like the soccer dudes. All right, Don, Goff looks to the middle of the field. Bro, matter what defense? Yeah, and he's Goff, like I said, I think the Chicago Bears defense caught him a little bit off guard, or Ben Johnson a little bit, but they did adjust. They did calm down. Not every quarterback, I can tell you, in this league can throw 3 picks and just kind of blow it off and lead the team back to whatever it was, a 13-point win, or coming back from 12 down to get 13 and take the win. So give him credit for that, because he did something not many could keep their wherewithal around them and make that comeback happen. All right, Brother Ken, what do you got? I work at a hotel here in Denver. I was celebrating the Lions win, and man, they did get mad. Why would they get mad about Detroit winning, man? Because, Denver isn't in any contention with Detroit for anything, but people are crazy like that. All right, Ed, I said the pressure was on Ben, and I was right, not counting Goff's problems. Ben adjusted. That was key. Yeah, and they did. My only gripe, Ed, and I think I've expressed it on the show, is some of these changes. I'm happy they made adjustments on offense and defense. I just think they need to learn to be able to recognize and do them a little bit faster. But to be fair to both of them, both OC and DC, that's something that usually happens with more experience. You just start seeing things faster. You're processing information faster. You've got answers through experience that help get you to that where you need to be a little bit quicker. All right, MJ, what do you got? Good morning, Coach. I thought our D did a good job, especially being the field for almost 41 minutes. You're not wrong with that, MJ. And that's probably something most of us don't consider that much. You look at how long that defense was out on the field and the fact that they still got the game done, that's a real credit to them. I mean, the short fields, I get we gave up those points, but think about how often the Bears didn't have to really go the length of the field. They did get a lot of possessions because of the turnovers on shorter fields. And you know what? The defense, while we're all saying what it isn't, let's also appreciate what it was. And it was good enough to force 4 field goals, get a couple key stops late in the game. So it's not perfect by any means, but let's not also give them praise for what they did do and were able to achieve. Johnny77, greetings to all on a Lions win Monday. That's right. And we all need to enjoy it, because the chances of something like that happening are so minute. I don't remember where it was, but somebody had a post about it saying that at one point the Lions' chance of losing that game was like over 99%. And the fact that you had less than 1% chance and came back and won, I mean, that just shows you how crazy that game can be at times. All right, Pierce and JMO going over the middle, catching that first down. Yeah, and he took a hit on that too. I think it was 15 yards, but going over the middle, making that catch and taking a hit, that was promising. Yeah. And, Pierce, I think you and I have talked about it, and everybody else obviously on the show, we've talked about it more and more in the last 2 or 3 weeks. There are a lot of telling signs that he is starting to get it, starting to develop, that the coaching staff are starting to get more trust in him. I've given you guys my thoughts from breaking down video on him. I think his better days are still ahead of us, but he's clearly better than he was last year, and without question, a totally different athlete than he was in college as far as his techniques, route responsibilities, and stuff. So I'm really excited what we'll get out of him and see further progress these last 7 games before the postseason. My guess is before the postseason, he's going to be a factor that most teams are going to have to account for on every play when he's out there. Max, why did they let Reynolds run the ball when they had 2 top-notch running backs? That I don't know. I can't answer unless both of them just needed a break for a second. I was surprised to see him on kickoff return though, and no offense to him, but I want to say he's only done like 2 or 3, 4 kickoff returns in his career, and it's a different world than them running between the tackles because things are moving around so fast. Somebody can have such a head of speed, like the dude who hit him on the elbow. You can't see it all, and it's a different world. And anybody who's ever done kick and punt returns probably has a vastly different appreciation of that role than anybody else because you can literally get your head taken off and not ever see the guy coming because there's so much field to work with, and those guys run at you have such a head of steam. So I would like to say this. I think the Lions could use a legitimate kick returner, punt returner, and I don't think Reynolds fits that bill. But maybe they had to use him for some reason I'm not privy to. David, what do you got? Good morning. I needed a Mountain Dew after that game. Me too, man. Me too. Ryan, Colby played well. He could be a long-term answer. Yeah, and watching him, I didn't break him down. I just watched live. He struggles a little bit with his leverage stuff, which you would expect from a rookie. He has clearly also developed from the OTAs and stuff like that. But he's got some good parts. Where he's going to end up being, that I don't know. My guess is Jonah Jackson. If he wasn't able to play yesterday, I'm thinking there's probably not a good chance he plays Thursday. So we'll see. But my guess is Sorsdale will probably have to play again Thursday. All right, Bergs, what do you got? Good teams find a Bears. Good teams find a way. Bears had the ball for 40 minutes, couldn't seal the deal. Gave us a window, and boys came up 8-2. Yeah, you're right, man. They settled for field goals, and I shouldn't say settled. They were forced into field goals, like you're pointing out, Bergs. Some of that you can say that's on the Bears. The other part of it is you can say the Lions defense really came through. So I'll let you guys pick where you want to go with that, but I'm going to say this. You force a team into 4 field goals. That's repeatable. That means you're doing something right on the defensive side, even though I got my problems with some of the stuff they did on D. Trump's Kobe's a big man. Yes, he is. He is not small. Jerome, hey, Dan, when players and coaches watch film, does it always correct their mistakes? No, it doesn't. Then that's why they keep happening. And there's a lot of reasons for it. But one of the best parts, I would say, when you're watching film, you want to know one of the reasons why I think Hank Fraley should be on the list for people to get hired either in college or professionally next year, or he'll be in demand. Let's just go with that. He'll be in demand. Is you watch the offensive line. That's his responsibility. It's not Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson has some say in it, but Fraley is a teacher out there. That's when you're talking about positional coaches, it's almost all about technique, fundamentals, helping these players evolve. It's not so much about all the X's and O's as far, what you can do on this play or that play. That's more the OC or DC's responsibilities. But what we can say with Hank Fraley in his time in Detroit, it's hard to really find any time when they did have to go to backups and, developmental players to fill in spots and roles with the offensive line. Those guys are sounding their responsibilities. Doesn't mean they have the ability from a physical standpoint to do something that the guy in front of them on the depth chart could do. I mean, there's a reason why they're a backup. What I would say is the Lions defensive line coach has got some real teaching to do here, because I'm pointing out what I'm seeing on the defensive line, especially when it comes to pass rush lane responsibility. I don't really have any problems with what they've done from a defensive line run stopping standpoint. There's a couple times yesterday, a couple of the linebackers overflowed and exposed a reverse or cut back for running backs for Chicago. That's going to happen. It's correctable, though. But from the defensive line, that coach has got to get out there, and they've got to clean some of this up. They have got to get down with these guys and say, hey, this problem A, problem B, they can't keep happening, because you're seeing it happen more and more. Like I said, when I broke down yesterday's game, I saw things that you go back 2 or 3 games, it's there. It's just not as pronounced. Yesterday, some of these issues were flaring up a ton, and you can't have that. That defensive line coach needs to, and I can't tell you who it is right now. It escapes me, but that guy's got one of the biggest jobs between now and the postseason of anybody. If they can clean that up, then our rush responsibilities get a lot better. We're going to get more sacks, more pressures. If it doesn't, then it's going to be a clown show, man. And that dude's probably on the hot seat. All right, Donkey Kong, Super Bowl bust. Woo! Stealing a win feels great. Yeah, and it should, man, because you are 100% right. We basically stole that one. All right, Big T, defend the den. Yeah, if we can do that again Thursday, man, that would be great. All right, JP. Woo! Yeah, it's that kind of morning, isn't it? Michael, howdy, Dan. Lions faithful, 8-2, exactly. Sign Watt or Sue. I'd probably say, because you need more pass rush at this point, I'd say Watt. It's just Sue's great, but he's been declining in that regard for a few seasons. Super Bowl or why 100%? All right. So I'll go with Super Bowl. Let's take the Super Bowl. Justin, what up, Dan the man? Been watching you for over a year now. Okay, thanks for that, man. And I appreciate all your hard work. Keep it up and go Lions. We'll do, man. And thanks for watching, Justin. Thank you very much. Iceberg, yo, Dan, we let y'all win since we in tank mode, but y'all have a lot of work to do. I see what you did there. Iceberg, I got a question for you, man. You let me know, man. You're the Bears fan in the room. Would you be moving on from Justin Fields? Because me, myself, I want it. I'd be using those picks to get that dude some more help on offense and defense, although I do think your defense has improved quite a bit. I just think, man, you got such a weapon there. And one of the things I hate about the league right now is that people want to move on from QB so fast. That's one of the hardest spots in all of pro sports to develop. And I think you got a weapon there. Dude, I think they are crazy if they move on from him. And if they do, though, as a Lions fan, I'll be thankful. But I don't know. Let me know your thoughts, man. You're the Bears fan. All right, brother Ken. I'm an assistant director of security at a major hotel here in Denver, and boy, were those Vikings fans best. Yeah, I bet they were, man, and they should be, man. I kind of like the Bears. I thought they blew that game. Iceberg, bear down, yeah. Holy Benignac, Anthony says, 8-2, 60 years. Wow, yeah, I would agree with that. Holy Scheiße, we'll say it in German. How about that? Maybe I won't get flags for that. Doc Beck, ugly wins are better than pretty moral victories. Yeah, and you know what? You couldn't have said that any better, Doc. Lions fans, we've had so many moral victories for so long. Yeah, I'm okay with kissing the ugly girl and getting the win there. At least one time. All right, Michael Jordan, just gonna have to push ball downfield, yeah, to negate the spy and flat coverage, prove we are throughout everywhere. Yeah, and that's what I was saying, MJ, is that you're gonna have to throw some people out of that coverage. And the Lions definitely have the ability to do it, so they're going to have to learn to adjust some of their offenses, especially earlier in the games. I will say they seem to be more comfortable doing it late. Early, I get they want a nickel and dime, but I think you're going to have to do the reverse to that because it will also open up the run game, the shorter intermediate passes. You make defenses have to cover every part of the field. That's a ton of pressure on them, and I'm with you. I think they got to do it. Don Iceberg. Oh boy, here we go. Don't start. I am running. Yeah, come on, you guys. Oof. All right, here we go. The fight is on. Don, that Vikings match up going to be some with Addison, Jefferson, Hoxton, all healthy. Yeah, we're going to be tested, and it's going to come a lot down to that defensive line to make Dobbs uncomfortable. If you don't, yeah, they're going to have enough weapons to cause some real problems for the defense. So better get after the QB. All right, Johnny, what do you got? Lions have a target on their back now, 100%. Playing Detroit was like the Super Bowl for the Bears. I would agree with that. I mean, and you're going to see the Bears again. They're going to want some revenge. So make no mistake, that next game in Chicago, that's going to be a game. Get them down there. All right, Don, bear down. Literally call the ambulance. Oh boy, Phil. Good morning. Good morning, Phil. Hopefully having a good one. I'll do one. JDC, I'd rather be dead than a cheddarhead. Go Lions. All right. Trump's, I was ready to leave when some comfort food after the bad loss. Yeah, I was ready to go leave for some comfort food. Yeah, I think a lot of people were, man. Justin, so many channels so upset with the JJ Watt news being pushed out. Personally, I really don't give a shiza that and like and think of outside the box possibilities like that. Never say never, but just funny. Hey, part of our job is to get you news right. At least part of the point of having a channel is to get you guys news and let you guys make of it as you will. So it happens, man. Anthony, we were very fortunate with this win. Where is our defense? AG has not figured it out yet. I've kind of already gone into this a lot. I think yesterday they did some good things. They also have a lack of talent on that side of the ball. I don't think they have any glaring holes in there, but they just don't have any elite playmakers yet. And to me, this offseason, it's all starting with that defensive line. You've got to get some people. We're sound there now. There's no glaring hole, but you're also not producing a ton there. So that's got to get remedied. Randy, a nice job, DC, with clock management. Yep. Bergs, exactly. We have a 2.5 game lead as of now. Vikings win last night. Vikings lost last night, Phil. So, yeah, everybody is celebrating Denver's win, at least if you're a Lions fan. Don, there is no such thing as easy schedule. I'm telling people to cut that stuff out, but I will never give Chicago teddy bear props. Oh, boy. Johnny, Vikings lost 21-20 versus Broncos. Correct. Pierce, is there also any way we can clinch by week 15? Maybe if the Vikings lose a few more games. I mean, you don't ask me to do the math on that at this early in the morning, but yeah, if they lose a few more games, they're in a world of hurt. I can tell you that part. Iceberg, 39-6 in Chicago. All right. Iceberg is calling it out, man. He's coming after you. He's saying, hey, the Bears are going to bear down on us. So we'll see what shakes out. Kevin, what was up with all the clock issues in the Fox broadcast? It was terrible. Yeah, I noticed that too. And just had to have some glitches. I'm guessing some, some issues that they just didn't seem like they were able to get really figured out throughout the game. All right, Trump comes down to pressure on the quarterback and Watner Sue. Yeah, and if they feel like those two will help, I'm all for it, man. Get them because we need to do something. MJ, what do you got? They're all pros, and really, I think we forget that fans, we say team sucks, but they're in NFL for a reason. One tweak and worst team could beat the best team. Yeah, and I keep going back to like earlier in the year, Dallas playing at Arizona. Arizona throttled them, man. I mean, they beat them up and beat them. And I'm sure there's other upsets. Like I know the 49ers dropped to someone that I don't think anybody saw coming. It's part of the league. Tips, passes, whatever, game of inches, whatever you want to call it. It really only takes a couple plays to really change the worst team in the league into being competitive with one of the better teams. So you're right, man. JDC, Trump's genius. You need more pass pressure. Yeah. Good game, y'all. Same to you, Iceberg. Same to you, man. Detroit, 56 Teddy Bears, 9 in Chicago. Oh, boy. Here we go. One funky. Hutch got that easiest safety in history of the league. Fields dropped back real far, then didn't even move when right instead of falling in the ball player soccer with it. Don't get much easier. No, and you're right. I mean, Fields did drop back, and you could tell, one funky, to your point, he was radar locked, and probably I'm going to guess if you were to watch it on the coaching cam and extend it out, you're going to see he was watching what do you call it, DJ Moore deep. He was focused on him. He knew he had to get a big chunk play in a hurry, and because of that, he was oblivious to around him. That's something you see from a lot of younger quarterbacks, though, where they do kind of zone out everything. The other part is Hutch did get low and leverage. He did get out wide, making it even harder on the tackle to keep on him. I would like to see them going back to moving him around a lot more. They did it a little bit yesterday, Hutchinson, that is. But, man, they've kind of gone back to what they did last year when he was less successful, where they're just playing him stagnant in one particular spot. My thoughts, at least. Phil, that tackle did a great job all game on Hutch. He did. And you could see at times he was winning one-on-one a lot with Hutch. So I would say, yeah, you're spot on with that, Phil. Iceberg, trade Goff and play the hook man. Yeah. Um, I'd say maybe in the offseason, if they don't get an extension on him, yeah, he's not going to be back. But that would probably be something that Hooker, yeah, is the heir apparent. That would be my guess. Trade Fields, play Bears. There you go. Big T. Yeah, Bohannon, yeah, made an impact immediately. Yeah, and I would say, yeah, he impressed me a lot yesterday. In limited reps, he did great. And that dude, he's a big boy. Trump, Hutch is wore down from double teams and chip blocks. And that's one of the things I was saying earlier in the season is they've got to get him off the field somewhat to help preserve him, because I agree with you. Watching him yesterday, he's lost some of his energy. And man, you've got to try to protect these guys. I get you're playing for every game. You want to win the division, yada, yada. But you've got to do something to help preserve that body. Otherwise, what's going to be the point? I'm real glad that all the players get basically a small bye after Thursday, because they're going to need it. All right, Anthony, what do you got? Y'all know the haters. This new Lions is showing we can win in different scenarios. Not pretty, but accomplishes the same. A dub in the win column. You're right, man. At the end of the day, that's why they're all out there. All right, guys, it's after 8 o'clock, and it's a big day for me, so I've got to get going with some coaching stuff today. So thank you all for tuning in this morning. If you haven't yet subscribed, please consider doing so. Trying to make that push. I think we need something like 60 more subs. Don't hold me to that, but somewhere around there to get to 4,600 by kickoff on Thanksgiving. If you could help with that, I surely would be grateful. Don't be afraid to hit the like button. Otherwise, if there's breaking news later today or something, I'll get it out to you. And then we'll see you on the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, everybody.